Greetings, everybody. Today we have a special day with a very special, magnificent person in front of us. Wait till you find out about his story. Wait till you hear what he had accomplished in his life and how he can connect you with your dreams and how he inspires the world right now. This is IP Resilience in a channel where we are honoring the past, celebrating the present, and empowering the future. Hey, John, how are you this morning?
Doing great, thank you.
And I want to let you know about John. Sir John Shin, he's a serial entrepreneur. He's also a philanthropist. He's a movie producer. He's best-selling author. He's a motivational speaker. He's also being called an Asian Tony Robbins. And you will know why when we start talking to him. He's also started over 26 different companies from the scratch. And right now they have flourished. He sits over 6 different board of directors, and he's a director of over 6 different charities. How amazing is that? And he's also co-founder of the All for One Foundation. And this is not all, John. I know I have missed so many things. I want you to tell all of us about a little bit about your accomplishments now before we ask you to share your story.
Well, I mean, we've had this wonderful privilege, Ilona, to make a movie based on this original book by Napoleon Hill, written in 1930, or published, I should say, in 1937, called Think and Grow Rich. And so we got this wonderful honor to make that movie. And what's interesting is after we made the movie, we had calls. The word got out. We did do a theatrical release with AMC and Regal Cinemas. And then we were there for a little bit. We came out of the theaters. We went to Amazon Prime. And then from there, we went to the digital platforms like Amazon Prime. Then we went to retail with Walmart. And, it's interesting. People had called our movie camp and asked if there's somebody they can send that could talk about the movie and Napoleon Hill and his philosophies. No one wanted to do public speaking on my team, and so I was the appointed one. They said, John, why don't you go and you speak? And so I went to one of my first large events. There were tens of thousands of people in the room. I spoke. I had gotten off the stage, and like many wonderful speakers, when they get off, if the audience liked you, they want to come up and get your picture and autographs, selfies, whatever. And what people had asked me after I got off the stage is what the name of my book was, because it seemed like every speaker had a book. And so I never mentioned my book. And I said, well, I'll tell you what, if you give me your email and your business card or something, we'll make sure we get you a digital copy. So I come home and my wife says, John, honey, she says, how did it go? I said, it was amazing. And she said, would you do it again? Absolutely. And she said, what's next? So I basically said, well, I need to write a book. And she said, what do you mean? And I said, because I told everybody I'd send them a digital copy. And she says, but you don't have a book. And I said, I know. That's why I have to write a book. And so that is what started my campaign to write a book. I had no idea what I was going to talk about. And so I called up the Napoleon Hill Foundation, spoke with Don Green, who is the executive chair. And he basically said, John, I said, Don, there's a Think and Grow Rich Black choice. There's a Think and Grow Rich Latino. There's a Think and Grow Rich for women. I said, did anybody write Think and Grow Rich an Asian choice? And he said, no, we have not discovered that author yet. And I said, what are you looking for? And he says, well, we're looking for somebody that kind of meets these criteria, not kind of, that meets these criterias. And I said, wow, I think I know maybe one person that fits that profile. And he said, who? And I said, me. Oh, excuse me. Anyway, long story short, 3 days later, I got the contract and I began writing the book, Think and Grow Rich, an Asian Choice. Went out there and interviewed some of the most amazing people. And from there, the book came out. about a year later after we wrote it, we were published by a company called Sound Wisdom. And before you knew it, the book started, selling. We were in all the bookstores around the country, Books A Million, Barnes and Noble. What was incredible, though, Ilona, is when I walked into an airport one day, and I'm walking through the bookstore, and I saw my book on the shelf. And, it's amazing because my whole life I've been traveling and going into a bookstore in the airport to pick up something to read as I'm traveling. Never thought I would see my own book on the counter. And it was awesome. It wasn't just one, but it was 3 sections that my book was on this, on the shelf. And I pulled out the book and I started autographing them. Right. And the book store people came over and said, by the way, sir, you cannot write in your books unless you buy them. I said, actually, I'm the author of this book, and I wanted to do something nice and put my autograph in there and slap this sticker on there because I had some stickers in my bag. And they said, you're the author of this book? I said, I am. And they said, oh, my God. Next thing I know, the people who were working there all bought a copy. We took some pictures. And I felt like a celebrity, I felt like, oh my God, it was like such a cool feeling. And then next thing I know, I was told that they wanted me on some shows and some television shows, news, podcast. And the next thing I know, I'm on Mario Lopez's show, his podcast show called Listen to Mario. And we've been on so many different places and platforms like your own, where you are taking the time to share this content with so many people. And I appreciate you doing this. And it's been an amazing journey. It really has been. We traveled all over the world in 2019, and now we're sitting at home in the year 2020 as we're having this crisis around the world. And here we are now. It's like the second quarter of 2021. So it's pretty amazing. But the journey, what we started back in 2015 when our movie started till now, the last 5-6 years have been crazy. It's been crazy. So very, very exciting times right now.
Your hunger, John, as you were speaking, to be honest with you, I'm taking it in everything you say. I feel your excitement, and I'm so, just so happy to see your achievement. But I know, John, behind every strong man who have accomplished so much in his life, there is some pivot moments. There are some childhood memories maybe that have made you the person you are today. You are a person with a PhD who are maybe poor, hungry, and determined to achieve things that you have right now and inspire the world. If you have that story, John, that you can take us back, and so we will get connected with it, so we can get inspired. Please share with us.
Yeah, so a little bit more of our family background. Both my parents immigrated to this country in the mid to late 1960s. They came to this country like most people do because there really isn't another country that allows the freedom, the opportunity. When people say, the land of the free, America, land of the free, that is exactly why we came here. It's the land of the free. It's people come here seeking that dream, the American dream. And my parents did just that. And they made some very big decisions to come to this country. And they came from a very traditional background, which is basically, go to college, get a degree, and then go work for somebody, right? And in our culture, like many others that are immigrants, they want their children to become doctors and lawyers. Like that was such the noble thing to do. So we had no choice. My sister and I, it was just the two of us. I do have a younger sister. She is now the dean at Pepperdine University. And so first Asian American, and the first woman to become a dean at Pepperdine. And then, so she became the real PhD. I went the other route. I did become the lawyer. And, sometimes we wonder why things happen to us, because I never wanted to practice law, never wanted to go into law, but I did it to fulfill my own parents' dreams, right? Because that was their dreams. And so, but everything happens for a reason. And I ended up going to law school, and, in that legal industry is where I met my wife. And it was love at first sight. It's interesting when it's amazing that two people can see each other and just kind of go, he's the one or she's the one. Like, we knew instantaneously. And then, of course, I approached her, right, and said hello and got her phone number and all that kind of stuff. And, when you know. And 3 months later, I popped the big question. Thank God she said yes. And that goes to show you that I'm a good salesman, right? Because I basically closed her, Ilona. I basically said, would you like to marry me on August 13th or August 20th? What day works for you? And she's like, well, I'm kind of busy on the 20th. And I'm like, okay, well, August 13th it is, So we got married in 1994. And since then, we've had 4 kids, boy, girl. And they're all amazing kids. We are so blessed to have 4 amazing kids, but there's so many takeaways from our upbringing, in terms of like what my parents did when they said that they made a decision to leave their country, that they love, now it didn't have the opportunities like America was, but they made a decision to leave their family behind and come to a country where they couldn't even speak English very well, and that would be no different than anybody here in America that left and went to another foreign country, whether they go to Asia or Russia or Scandinavia or Poland or who knows, wherever they go. Imagine going to another country, or France for that matter, or Germany, and you don't speak their native language, and how difficult it is. And there's a takeaway, which is the word to decide, because when you look at the word D-E, it actually comes from the Latin word, which means to do. And the word side, C-I-D-E, comes from the word to kill, right? Or to die, which means that's why we have pesticide, homicide, suicide, right? So we have all the side. And one thing that my parents said to me is the word decide means to either do or to die or to kill all your excuses. And so, hey, we did that. We put aside all our excuses, which I think many, many people today suffer a disease. And that disease is called excusitis. Right? Everybody suffers the disease of excusitis. Napoleon Hill says in the book Think and Grow Rich that he calls it the 57 airtight alibis that mankind uses today. And when you read those 57 airtight alibis, it's amazing that he discovered this in the early 1900s, and almost, hundreds of 1,000 years later, right? Here we are. And people are still using the same excuse, right? People still say, if it wasn't for the fact that I was born on the right side of the track, or if I had a better education, or if I had a better marriage, or if I had better parents, we seem to blame everybody else. And studies show today, if you go and actually do the research and discover how many people, of all the rich people, and I'm talking, when I say rich, equating rich with money at this second, when we equate wealth and money, how many billionaires today inherited that money? And it's only 15%, which means that the other 85% of the people that are out there today came from nothing, which is what my parents had, absolutely nothing, right? And so we did it from scratch, just like everyone else can. Right? The only difference between me and everybody else is I think I'm a bigger dreamer than everyone else, right? Most people have given up on their dreams. Dr. Martin Luther King, such an amazing man, and he gives one of the greatest speeches ever called the I Have a Dream speech, right? But what he basically said in another talk is he says that most people die at the age of 25. We just don't bury them until they're 80.
Yes.
And what I believe he's saying is that most people have given up on their dreams by the time they're 25, right? Because, think about it. They feel like these are the cards that were dealt to me. I got nothing really other than this. And they've given up. And here's the other thing is that the reason they've given up is they've allowed certain things to go into their mind. The problem we have today and why so many people are not successful is because they watch the news. And when you watch the news, what's on there? Is it positive things or is it negative things? Like we watch the news today, it's pretty much the same stuff we heard for the last 40 years. And then the other thing is we go to the internet. And what do we look on the internet? We look and find bad things. We watch TV and we find and hear bad things. We go on the radio, hear and find bad things. We go to work and we start to associate with people that are very negative. Suddenly you got all this negativity going into in between the 6 inches of your ear. And now we wonder why people are becoming so much more negative out there. And so I tell people, you got to start listening to good music, right? Not just, bad music. Start looking for things that will help you grow on the internet. Don't look at the news, right? If you're going to go watch TV or watch anything like a movie, why not go read stuff that's going to enrich your life? And so there's a lot of good things happening in the world today. And there's a lot of amazing people that are trying to help in every way they can. And so go and seek out those people to surround yourself with. And you've heard people say this all the time, that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Well, I don't know if it's really 5 or 4 or 10, or if that's ever been scientifically proven that it's 5. What if it's 3? What if it's 8? What I do know is, and what I have seen is that if you're trying to lose weight and get fit, and everyone you hang out with is eating cheesecake, hamburgers, and pizza, you're going to have a hard time trying to diet and lose weight, right? If you're trying to quit smoking and everybody around you is smoking every day, you're going to have a very difficult time to what? Give up smoking. So what that tells me is that if you're hanging around with a bunch of broke people and people who don't have big dreams and have no vision, chances are you're going to be just like those people. So doesn't common sense tell us that we should go and associate with the people that are winning, that have big dreams, that are thinking differently? And I call it TFA. And I may have shared this with you in the past, Ilona, but the letters TFA, okay? And I have shirts that say TFA. And people are like, what does TFA stand for? And I said, it's very powerful. The letter T stands for your thoughts, your mind, and what you're thinking about. I ask people all the time, do you ever think about what you're thinking about? Because whatever you think about will affect the way you feel, which is what the letter S stands for. And how you feel will determine how you act, right? Because if you feel terrible, you don't want to do anything, right? If you're depressed, you don't want to do anything. So you gotta change the way you feel, your emotions. And your feelings and your emotions will affect the way you act, and your actions will determine your results. So that means your results are all predicated on your what? What you're thinking about. So isn't it important? What do we think about? And so I tell people we got to change the way you think. And once we reprogram this, and that's the good news. A lot of people said, well, for 20, 30, 40, 50, 80 years, my mind has been programmed a certain way. And I said, you're absolutely right. So we have to reprogram it. Okay. And once we reprogram that, now guess what? There could be abundance that you can achieve, but we got to change the way you all think. And then once we change your thoughts, as I say, your actions, the letters ACT also means something. And the letter A basically means to take appropriate action. appropriate, right? So people say, well, I want to have a wonderful marriage. Like, who sits there and gets married and says, I hope my marriage doesn't turn out good? Like, no one says that. Of course, everybody wants to have a wonderful, beautiful, loving marriage. But you got to take appropriate actions for that, right? You know, if you're sitting there and you don't take the appropriate actions and wonder why your marriage is suffering, then guess what? Now, people, by the way, my wife and I, we've now been married 27 years, Ilona. It still feels like it's only been 27 days. We still get butterflies, even after 27 years of hanging out with each other and spending quality time. And people said, what's the secret? What's the secret of a beautiful marriage? And I said, honestly, it's a book that we both read. In this book, I forget the author's name, but the book is called The 5 Love Languages. I don't know if you've ever seen or heard of the 5 love languages. Well, that's what we did. You know, we applied the 5 love languages in our life. We know what each other needs and wants are. And so there you go. But everybody wants to have a successful marriage. Everybody wants to have a wonderful business and make money and have a beautiful family. So the thing is, you've got to take appropriate action. The letter C states it stands for consistency. If you want to make a lot of money, you got to be consistent with whatever you're trying to do, with your skills. You know, I see a lot of people putting together a podcast or a live video, a TV show, a radio station, whatever it is. And they go, oh, I had to shut it down because it just didn't work out. And I go, well, how long did you do it for? And they go, oh, about 3 months. And I'm like, 3 months? I'm like, you can't do anything for 3 months and expect to be good at it, right? I mean, tell me anybody that you've met that became great at what they do after 3 months or 6 months or even a year. So most people, they have to put so much time into it to become really good at their skills. So if you're going to become a public speaker, you can't like become a great speaker overnight. Everybody wants to compare themselves to a Tony Robbins. Well, Tony's been doing this forever, right? I mean, Tony was a motivational speaker when I was a kid, right? So with all due respect to Tony, but man, you just got to stay with it. And then last, the letter T stands for tenacity, which is to be tenacious and don't give up, right? And if you can just act on your goals, then big things will begin to manifest itself over time.
So powerful, John. I cannot even I was just sitting and taking it all in. You are a natural motivational speaker. He's so determined to bring somebody else's dream also and connect their dreams with yours as well. And you were right, because I know that the graveyard, is the richest place on the planet, because all of our dreams are buried there with the people who have not accomplished their dreams. And you mentioned it right. We do die at the age 25 with our dreams, not physically, because we stop dreaming, because we're so consumed by the media that we listen, by the people that we hang out, by the places that we go that drain our energy, and we do become like them instead of being, smart enough, like you said, to choose what we do, what we say, and who we hang out with. We cannot lose weight and having somebody else do the push-ups for us. We cannot, lose weight, hanging out with the people who are always eating, some kind of, consuming the food that is not good for your body. So it all starts with the thinking. You're absolutely right. We have to think what we're thinking about, and we have to connect it with our feelings and therefore actions and also results. And we do have to stay consistent if we want to achieve and have a great success in our lives. John, you have been so instrumental. I just wanted to kind of sit back and just do nothing but listening to what your wisdom that you are sharing, your experience, and, all of these powerful messages that you have. So we are going to say goodbye to you. But before we say goodbye to you, John, I want you to take a moment and speak to one person out there who are struggling with their dreams. What would you say to him or her right now?
Well, if they're struggling with their dreams right now, I would say that they have to find a coach, right? Everybody, if you look at most professionals in sports, you look at actors, you look at musicians, right? Everybody's got a coach. Everybody has somebody that is holding their hand and teaching them and guiding them and supporting them. So everybody's got somebody, even myself. I had a man that it's crazy. It's like divine intervention. It's like an angel came and put him in front of my life, you know, but we basically looked at his life today, right? And we said, I didn't want somebody who just wanted to become a speaker or wanted to be a coach, but didn't have anything to show for it in themselves, right? I had to see evidence, right? For instance, if I want to have nice teeth, right, Ilona, I'm not going to go to a dentist who has no teeth, right? I mean, it's like, I want to make sure if I look at this dentist, they got nice teeth. If I want to get fit and work out, I want to get really, ripped, I want to go to a guy or a lady who can, when they take their shirt off, like they got muscles and they look good, right? You either want to be ripped or you're going to be rippled. It's one or the other, right? And I was getting a little rippled down below. And so I wanted to hire a trainer. I didn't find the person who was 200 pounds overweight. I found the guy who was a bodybuilder, a professional who did it, who talked the talk and walked the walk. Well, I met a man, and what I wanted in my life was I wanted to have a successful marriage. I wanted to have a beautiful family, but I also wanted to have a lot of money. Now, I'm not looking to become a billionaire. There's nothing wrong with that, but it just wasn't our goal. Like, I don't need to be a billionaire. How much, the millions I make now per year is more than enough that we can live and buy just about anything we ever wanted. Right. And some people say, well, don't you want to buy a jet? Well, I could, but I don't need a jet. You know what I mean? There's no place that I can't go on this planet right now with the amount of money we make. And so it wasn't like I was looking to be a billionaire, but I found a man and he had all that. He had a beautiful family, great kids, beautiful marriage, and he had the money. And I'm like, I want to have that person mentor me. So people say, well, what did you say to him? And I said, you ready for this? I said, will you mentor me? Right? Which is, that's it. Like you just said, he goes, yeah, that's all I asked. And guess what he said? He goes, I'd be honored. It's kind of like when you asked me, he says, John, can you come and talk on my show? It wasn't like, well, I'm going to send you a contract. You got to talk to my people. I charge a fee or blah, blah, blah. I was like, Ilona, you know what? I'd be honored to do that. Right. And so here's the thing. We say, ask without fear. And during your life, some of you guys, you're afraid to ask people for help, for guidance, for counseling. Don't ask for opinions. Losers seek opinions. Winners seek counsel. So you got to go out there and seek counsel and find somebody who that will give you counsel that is going to give you, right, based on their experience, the right information. Well, people said, I talked to your parents. And I go, well, what do your parents do? And I go, and they start telling me, and I'm like, well, they're the wrong people taking that advice from. They're like, wow, like, I don't mean to insult your parents, but all I'm saying is this, is that just because your parents or your grandparents love you doesn't necessarily mean that they're giving you the best advice, okay, or the best counsel in an area that they have no experience in. Right? I mean, if you've got cancer, you're not going to talk to your parents about how to handle your cancer. You're going to go talk to a cancer specialist, right? If your parents aren't rich and wealthy financially, why would you take advice from them? You got to go take advice from somebody who has actually got a lot of money. So I say, ask without fear and don't worry. Like people, I asked a couple of people, I said, why don't you just ask for help? And they go, but I feel like I'm incompetent. If I ask, there's something wrong with me if I ask for help. And I said, no, quite the opposite. You're actually being very smart about asking people for areas that you don't lack knowledge in, where you lack knowledge. So look, I'm not a very techie savvy guy. I don't know how to create websites. I don't know how to do Instagram, Facebook, all those posts and whatever. Even as you and I were connecting earlier, you're like, hey, John, how do we do this or how do we do that? I was like, oh, I don't know. And then I looked over at my team and they were able to give us some guidance on what to do. I know what I don't know, but here's what Henry Ford said. Henry Ford, who invented the cars, right, in America, basically said his family was about to overthrow him, saying he didn't know anything. So they went into court and they basically tried to overthrow him. They said, well, do you know how to do this? Do you know about accounting? Do you know about human resources? Do you know all these different things? And he said, no, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. And they said, you see, Your Honor, Mr. Henry Ford is incompetent and we need to remove him from the board. And he said, hold on one second. He says, look, I don't need to know those things. He goes, on my desk, I've got a bunch of little buttons I can push, and the people who know those things will come into my office and tell me what I don't know. And that's exactly the world we live in today, but we've got more than just a button. People can go and learn. And the word learn is the word earn, right? The more you learn, the more you earn, right? But you got to learn, and you got to learn from people who are actually doing it. And I tell people, just ask without fear. Such a big takeaway.
You also say, like, be bold when you ask me, be bold, and you challenge me. I'm like, okay, I don't care about any other questions. I have to ask him if he's going to be on my podcast. And you are absolutely right. We cannot seek the advice from unqualified people. We have to find the right people to seek advice and guidance in our lives. It was such a powerful message, John. And to be honest with you, I didn't want our session to end, but we will have to say goodbye for now, to our viewers, to each other, to make sure that we can flourish and we can meet again and we can inspire the world one person at a time and plant that seed where they can start dreaming again. God bless you, John.
Thanks for having me, Ilona. It was great talking to you.